Let us discuss how liquidation will wipe out company debt. You can get rid of SARS debt as well. It is very tough to trade when you've got debt in your company, and that quotation is from me, and I think that's the feeling. It's like someone standing on your throat. So debt works differently when it comes to liquidation. Your SARS debt, VAT, income tax pay as you earn, UIF and STL are written off, but customs and excise taxes are not written off because the Customs and Excise Act holds the manager of the premises personally liable for the debt. I think it's unconstitutional, but at the moment that's the law. Finance agreements work a little bit differently. You have finance agreements where you, for example, go and buy a car or a machinery, where you say to the bank, just pay the seller 500,000 Rand, please, I will pay you back. The bank pays the seller, and if there's a breach, they will collect the vehicle or the machinery and they will sell it, and you will be held liable for the shortfall. When there's a lease, hire, or a rent, you borrow, in inverted commas, the asset for a term, and if you fall in arrears or you can't pay it, they come and collect it, they cancel the agreement, and they will hold you liable for the rest of the term. Although I disagree with that, they should only hold you liable for damages. But I'm not going to discuss that now. You can call me and I'll explain that to you. So if there's a liquidation, there's automatic cancellation of these agreements. And if you want to keep the financed item after liquidation, you have to settle it in full before liquidation. You can do that. And the lease, hire, and rent, liquidation will cancel it immediately. And if you haven't returned the items before liquidation, they will collect the items after liquidation and then hold the company liable. I'm going to discuss sureties later. Your salaries, wages, and retrenchment. Staff become creditors of the company. They can prove claims and in the hope that there are assets to be sold where they will be paid. They are regarded as preferred creditors, so that means they stand second in line, actually third in line, actually fourth in line, I'm so sorry, because you get secured creditors, which are the banks who hold bonds, and landlords who have a retention right. Second is SARS as a preferred creditor, then the curator and liquidators fees, and then the staff. So if there's not sufficient assets to be sold, by the time you get your preferred creditors, they will get nothing. And if there's no proceeds, there's no payment. Your lease agreement with your landlord has a retention right. So after liquidation, he will be paid first. He's a secured creditor. If you sign surety, you will be held liable for any shortfalls after the liquidation is paid out, if anything is paid out. And the term of agreement will usually lapse, because once an agreement is cancelled, you cannot be held liable for the term because the contract doesn't exist any longer. I'm going to, elsewhere on my website, there will be an article about lease agreements and terms and cancellations, which is a complex issue at the moment because the landlords misunderstand it usually and misapply their agreements. What happens to suppliers? Suppliers are regarded as concurrent creditors, and they stand last in line to be paid. If there's no surety, the debt is written off, and if you want to keep them, you can make payment arrangement with them that your new company will pay them. You are allowed to do that. I want to caution against family member loans. Any loan is also a concurrent creditor, and they stand last in line. So be careful when you know that you're going to liquidate. Don't pay these loans back because they're going to claw it back. It's an asset in the estate. If you pay out money to somebody when you could have paid your creditors, so don't suddenly before liquidation pay all your family member loans back. They're going to ask for the money back. And then a problem usually is the director's loan. If you've taken your salary but they've put it through as a loan to avoid income tax, that's a problem when you liquidate because it's an asset in the company by now, and the liquidator will most definitely call up that loan and you will have to pay that money back. So you should caution your auditor or your accountant that by the time there's a liquidation, that there is only salaries drafted and not loans, because they will call it up. What happens to debtors? Debtors will be collected by the liquidator. After liquidation, the money will go into the insolvent estate and be paid to creditors. If there's any sureties that you signed for any agreements, liquidation will not write those debts off and you will remain personally liable. If you didn't sign personally surety for it, the debt will be written off. You can be held personally liable for reckless trading if you trade too long, because you must liquidate the company as soon as it cannot pay debt. However, reckless trading is very hard to prove, so I haven't seen those a lot. If you've signed surety and you've signed surety for too much of the debt of the company, then don't just liquidate. You're wasting your money. You must sequestrate as well. And if you can't sequestrate, at least let us protect your assets. You can contact me and I'll explain to you how we can protect your assets and how sequestration works. Liquidation really gets rid of debt fast while you continue to trade. You avoid reckless trading because there's a duty on you to liquidate as soon as possible, and liquidate sooner rather than later so that you don't have to deal with creditors who chase you and live in fear of SARS. The sooner you start over, the sooner the problem is over.